Hello, I'm NBG, and welcome to the Dragonflight beta. I've been taking a run at all the different professions on the beta and just kind of giving my general thoughts of how it looks to level, the different things you can make, but most importantly, I've been getting into the specializations and trying to discuss them both at like a first glance look and then also after some consideration on what I would start with, what your potential options are, because as we all know, this expansion is going to be more important than ever to make the right choice early, especially if you're a gold goblin like myself. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So today we are taking a look at blacksmithing. Now, as we all know, in general, most of the professions, especially the crafting professions, all kind of work the same, right? Especially like the gear crafting professions. There's not going to be too much of a difference other than the one type of armor you're making, and then two, some of like that secondary type stuff that they can craft. So, such as like, leatherworking has like the armor kits and whatnot that could potentially be good gold. So we're going to take a look at blacksmithing today, see what it has going for it, and just kind of get a feel for it. We have three different types of ore that we use. We have the Tyrivite. Yeah, Tyrivite ore. You have the Draconium ore, and you have the Casgrite ore, all in the different rarities. And then, other than that, it's, blacksmithing is what it is, right? You're crafting armor. It looks like at the start there's also some profession tools and accessories, and then a consumable good, which is a repair hammer. I'm going to go ahead and get working on it and at least get it up to 25 so that we can start taking a look at the specializations. So I went ahead and I actually got up to level 50 on blacksmithing just so I can unlock basically all of the different recipes, both buying them like from what you get. Actually, I need to make sure that yes, I got everything from there. So both buying everything that you get like from the trainer as well as some of the other ones that you can buy off the vendor here on the beta, just to kind of give myself a more general idea of the different things that you can craft, because honestly that's what's going to help you determine what specialization you might want to go into. So what we have going on for blacksmithing is pretty straightforward. I think it's the most straightforward so far of all the professions I've looked at in terms of the routes that you can go that are worthwhile. We have obsidian seared alloy. This alloy is used in a lot of different things, so being able to smelt this better is going to be pretty important, because as you can see, like any of these, this allied seared, that requires it. That bloody one requires it. The moltens do. No, those take the primal molten alloy. So those are required a lot, like the molten alloy, like right here. Being able to craft these easier is going to be huge. Maybe to make money from selling these on the auction house or using them yourself, they are going to be highly sought after. You have, again, just a generic armor like kind of tab. I always wish that they would like break it down like helm, so on and so forth. I know that would make a lot of these little like drop down menus, but I prefer it that way, personally. I hate going through and trying to figure out what's what, but anyway, I'll stop complaining about that. So, you have, obviously, a whole bunch of, base 382 gear that you can craft. This is the kind of stuff that you're going to want to craft, and, whether crafting it early and then you can recraft or whatever the case may be and push its quality up, so on and so forth. These are the things that more than likely is what you're going to be shooting for. You're going to want to be that guy to craft the best gloves, or that guy to craft the best pauldrons, or whatever your choice is. I don't really know the difference between, like, let's say, I know the difference on that one because that one has, like, and this one, this is an embellished piece. So it has, like, as you can see, like, it has an equip with it, gain versatility per allied group with you're grouped with, stacking up to 5 times. That seems pretty legit, especially since it's on like a wrist slot and it's not taking a slot that would be like a set item. That's pretty cool. Are the bloody ones any different? No, yeah, the bloody ones are also embellished, and then it's the same kind of thing. So the bloody ones tend to be PvP focused. So like this one, enemies who damage you will sometimes take damage over 6 seconds and increases the item level to 424 in PvP or War mode. Let's take a look at the War Boots. Duration of incoming snare effects reduced by 20%. That's Nice. I like that. And then you have the Frostfire, which damaging a new enemy grants you haste for 10 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. Very interesting stuff. But these are embellished, so I believe you can only have 2 embellished pieces. And then it's going to be pick and choose of, you know, what you're going for. If you're going for set, which set items you're going for, you know, which embellished pieces you're going for. Just, you know, kind of how WoW has always been, right? I'm sure there's going to be best in slot kind of things and things of that nature, but that's kind of what you have. And then the primal tends to be just like the generic epic quality gear. Not much else to say here. You can also craft other PvP generic pieces, which I honestly really like. That's probably a sub-genre, sub-thing that I would want to be good at, is specifically crafting PvP stuff. But it's not like you can pick a talent point to craft PvP stuff better. Usually it's crafting, you know, wrist and blah 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 and blah 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 better, to where I will probably, you know, if I wanted to craft the best PvP wrists, I wouldn't just be able to craft the PvP wrist, I'd be able to craft like the other wrist as well, you know what I mean? So but I do like the idea of making good PvP items. That's your generic leveling stuff. Down here you also have shields. You have a generic epic quality shield. You have an embellished shield, which has taking damage, has a chance to gain versatility for 15 seconds, which is really, really nice. I like that. There's your leveling one, and then same kind of thing. You have the generic leveling. The Primal Molten is your generic epic. Here's generic epic weapons. Pick your choice. And then the obsidian ones, they don't have... These don't have like other things with it. Like if I take a look at, like, let's take a look at the Claymore. You know, 260.6 DPS, random stat, and then like take a look at this, and that has 156 random. So I guess that's the difference. The obsidian tend to, looks like it's the same DPS. It's the same item level. Let's look at the longsword again. No, that's a one-hander. I'm stupid. Let me try this again. Let's look at the Great Axe. The Great Axe has 312. Sword, halberd, hex. That's polearm. Okay, so there is differences here. There we go. There's rune axe. One-hander. Alright, so I'm not going crazy. These are just the weapons. You have the obsidian ones, and you have the primal ones. They're the generic epic quality. Sorry about that. I confused myself for some reason. Down here you have the profession tools and accessories. Pretty self-explanatory. You know, like there's actually an epic quality one. Didn't know that. It's kind of cool. But the thing is, once you make it and once you put it on, like, you're probably not going to be switching this out. I don't know if I want to be the guy who makes good tools. Like, I don't know. That does not strike me as something that's going to be super relevant in the long term, because it's going to be a set it and forget it type thing. Yeah, I don't know there. I don't think that's a route I would go. We have consumable goods, so you have the skeleton keys for lockpicking, and you have the repair hammers. Stonework, this is like your generic whetstones and things of that nature. That's one for your tool, but here's one for like the bladed weapon, and then you have the primal whetstone for your blunt weapons. For attack power, you do have at least a pet that you can craft, and then you have writing, barding, which these are not implemented yet. So again, blacksmithing is pretty straightforward on the type of stuff you can craft, right? Which means specializations should also be pretty straightforward. Let's go take a look. So here is your main tree, Armorsmithing. Armorsmithing is exactly what you think it is. It is the generic overall branching tool spec for like all armor crafting. Armorsmithing, as you put points in here, you're going to gain more additional skill in this specialization. It's going to give you skill for like all crafting of like armor. Specifically, all armors, you're going to have increased skill crafting. And these break down into large plate, sculpted armor, and fine armor, which are also pretty self-explanatory. Large plate By the way, these also all are going to give like additional skill. You're going to open up the to be able to use optional reagents to craft. There might even be seeing if there's any like other recipes you would learn. Like here's just double checking. Okay, so you have like breastplates, and like here's your chest pieces, here's your shields, here's your greaves. You know, the big armor pieces, that's this side. You have helms, pauldrons, and sabatons, your boots. This is the sculpted armor, a little bit more fine work on those. And then you have your fine armor, which is like the smaller things, your vambraces, your belts, and your gauntlets. The thing is, each of these sub points are basically all giving you skill. So like let's say if I unlock this, you know, and I'm pumping these in, you have each of these points are giving you skill, and then like this is inspiration. Now I can use a sub, so I should have at least plus 10 skill, but I actually think I have more because of this, so I should have plus 16, right? No, that's plus 6. But if I went to, it would show here. There we go. So if I wanted to craft one of these, right, I have a plus 10 skill from putting points into the specialization. That's where that plus 10 comes from. It actually should be plus 16 though, shouldn't it? Because this is plus 6 blacksmithing skill, and each point in here should be skill. 1 skill point in the specialization for crafting armor. Was I looking at armor or am I dumb? No, I was looking at armor. So yeah, this is bugged because this shouldn't be, this should be plus 16, not plus 10, because it should be 6 from here as well as 10 from the specialization. So either way, that's how that works. And then you can come down and you can put points into something like this. Let's go ahead and use, oops, let's just apply that, you know, and you want to go into large plate, and then you can then go into something like chest or whatever you want. Generic armorsmithing, going into large plate, so that's going to increase your resourcefulness, inspiration, other things of that nature, and more importantly skill towards all the large plate items. And then you can then specify and go into a specific to push the skill even higher. That's what's going to allow you to go into that tier 2, tier 3 quality. That's the thing you want to focus on, is skill. Obviously inspiration or something is basically a skill crit, so inspiration will help, but eventually once you get enough skill, inspiration doesn't do a whole lot if you're already able to craft it at like tier 3 guaranteed, which is the point all of us will be trying to work towards. So again, I'll say that inspiration is super strong early, and it might even be strong for a very long time, but it just worries me since you can't reset stuff, that if you go super hard into like inspiration procking so that you can, you know, hit that tier 2 or tier 3 sooner than other people, come late game, the people that have points into resourcefulness and things of that nature and not going for the inspiration, like they have an advantage, I guess. You kind of will have wasted points at some point. Again, that could be way far into the expansion, I don't technically know, but that's like my biggest worry about like a stat like inspiration in general, because it is very much an early game stat that is very strong, because obviously if you're hitting inspiration procs and you're getting tier 3 or tier 2 equipment out faster, whether it's equipment or anything else or items that are used for crafting, like that's obviously insane. You get some insane value out of that. But that might be a choice, right? That might be something like, I'm going to focus on, you know, crafting, you know, making the actual alloys or whatever the case may be, and I'm going to really focus on inspiration and multi-craft and those kind of things, because I'm just going to get the most bang for my buck early, and my focus will be selling early, and, you know, you'll be a little bit slower once we get deeper into the expansion. Anyway, let's just conclude armorsmithing. We know what it is, right? All the different armors, it's mostly pushing skill for a specific piece. Onto weaponsmithing. Now, weaponsmithing, just like armorsmithing, pretty self-explanatory. I don't need to do a whole lot of explaining here. You have a generic skill tree at the start to push up your skill in creating all weapons, and then you have other skill lines for blades and hafted, right? So you have like your blunt weapons, things of that nature, you know, axes, hammers, and then on this side you're going to have like swords and things like that. And you can you decide to go down one of those. You have short blades and long blades here, and then here you're going to have your axes, picks, and pole arms, and here you're going to have your maces and hammers. So if you want to be the guy to craft the best two-handed swords, or whatever the case may be, boom, boom, you go that direction, and that's the direction you're going to focus on to push your skill, push your inspiration, push your resourcefulness towards the specific craft you want to be known for, or good at, or however you want to look at it. That is pretty much weaponsmithing, just like armorsmithing, right? We have specialty smithing. This is going to be any of the specialty, like non-material goods, such as, like over here, you're going to have like your tools. Here's your toolsmithing, right? You have your toolsmithing here. Any of the stonework. Stonework, I believe, is going mostly just going to be the like weight stones, right? Yeah, stonework. You have the razor stone, the primer whetstone, and this. That is the direction you want to go if you just want to make whetstones all expansion. Here you go. You can shoot for that early. It's actually not going to take that many points to like really get down here and get good at this, especially getting the multi-craft and things of that nature. It's not a bad generic option, to be honest, just because like even now, maybe the amount of money that you can make currently for like whetstones and stuff like that in Shadowlands isn't insane, especially since the 9.2.7 changes. But like especially prior to 9.2.7, I was still making whetstones and stuff all the time just because the return was good. So, and even now, every once in a while, there's still profit to be made there. Maybe not a lot, but you know, if you're hitting multi-crafts, if you're hitting inspiration, if you're hitting stuff like that, not terrible. Maybe not insane gold making, but not terrible, I don't think. There's toolsmithing, and then over here is your smelting. So if you want to be good at specifically smelting those, you know, the Frostfire Alloy, the Primal Molten, the Obsidian, if your goal is, I just want to be able to make these alloys at the best quality possible, with a chance for multi-crafting, with a chance for, you know, just resourcefulness, because especially when resourcefulness is really going to matter when you're using stuff like Awaken Fire, Awaken Order, and you're using, you know, a lot of like the better tier quality ore and stuff like that. That's when you're going to really see those times when resourcefulness does proc, which it is kind of a small chance, and it doesn't save a lot, but in the long run, it'll really add up. So that is the direction you want to go if you just want to be good at smelting. I kind of like the idea that, especially early, like if you want to be that guy who's, let's say, going to craft the best chess pieces, you're going to kind of require somebody else to be able to craft really good of like the smelting of the alloys, right? Like you're probably not going to be able to create those alloys yourself very easily. You might have to be required to use somebody else, and I kind of like that. It gives everybody their niche, their thing they're good at. Obviously, eventually, hopefully, you'll max out your skill and really have the skill required in armorsmithing, and then you might focus more on just being better at smelting the alloys so you can, you know, take care of it yourself. Yeah, cool options. Our final one is really probably the most generic because it's hammer control. This is just plus skill in blacksmithing, right? You get some increased blacksmithing speed, whoop-de-doo, additional inspiration and resourcefulness when making blacksmithing goods. So I believe that's anything in blacksmithing. A little bit of resourcefulness, a little bit of inspiration when you max it. You get skill as you go through. And then you can go basically into the resourcefulness tree or the inspiration tree. And those are also pretty self-explanatory. Chance to save goods, chance to crit, and maybe gain, and hopefully with enough skill can get you into a tier 2 or a tier 3 when you normally wouldn't be able to. And that's pretty much it. That is the blacksmithing trees. Again, I think this one is the most straightforward so far out of all the professions we've looked at. Time to briefly discuss your options at the start of the expansion, as well as kind of what I'm thinking maybe I will go. This is really a pick what you want to be good at profession. Okay, let me rephrase that. It's really pick a specific item that you want to be good at type of profession. There's not a whole lot of choice other than I think the smelting route. Like if you just want to be really good at smelting and making the alloys and selling those and letting other people do the crafting, I do think this is a very strong generic route that you can go. God, it's so hard. It's so hard because at the start of the expansion, if I only have one blacksmith, what do I want to focus on? Do I really want to focus on crafting a specific item piece, or would I rather do something generic like this? It's going to be a hard decision if you don't have multiple blacksmiths and things of that nature. It really is a hard decision. But I do think the smelting's good. So, those are pretty much your options. Pick a specific item piece like greaves or shields. I will say that I probably am not going to focus on anything that is a set item piece. I think I would rather focus on, you know, boots, belt, van braces, maybe even shields if I want to do that. Like, I think I'd focus on an armor piece that's not a set item slot. I know the set items aren't exactly insane in terms of like what they give you, but there's still damage increases for having your sets, right? That those are more than likely, almost always, those are going to be your best in slot. So I don't really want to craft something in that place personally. That's just me. Maybe you want to, because maybe you think, oh, a lot of people are going to feel that way. So for the people that do want a crafted chest piece for whatever reason, you know, I want to be that guy. Like, again, you do you. I don't think there's a right and wrong. I do think you just need to have a focus. Just focus on something and roll with it, and I think you'll be all right. That's kind of the long story short here. But that's kind of my thoughts, is I think I'd rather focus on things that are not a set piece if I do armorsmithing. Weaponsmithing, again, good option if you want to be that guy who crafts, you know, maces and hammers and things of that nature. I do feel that maybe there's more you can craft from the hafted than there is the blade side. But again, if you want to make the best, you know, glaives, swords, sickles, that thing, then by all means, go for it. And let's go over here. Because you have the claymore, like, if you want to make that that claymore, if you want to make that your thing, by all means, go long blades. It's not a bad choice. As long as you pick one and you really push the idea of crafting that piece, I think you'll be okay, whether it's armor or weapon. Now, the other thing I'll say on armor is, before we move on, is some of the pieces have like those specialty items, these embellished pieces. Maybe your long-term goal is you want to make in the really, really good embellished pieces, because some of these are actually really strong. I love the idea of gaining versatility and things like that. Or like the boots, right? Where were those? Yeah, the boots. Duration of snare effects reduced by 20%. Having like really good PvP boots that might be very strong, to be honest. I think, especially considering I play a warrior, right? Like, that's typically my main. I look at these and I'm like, yes, I'm probably going to be using these, and like throughout the expansion, it's more than likely. That's my thought. So, going a route like that is a good idea if you can focus on a piece and also be able to craft the embellished piece that goes with it. That's a pretty good option. Moving on. Smelting, I think, is going to be a very generic, like, oh my god, I don't know what I want to craft, I don't know what's going to be good, but everybody's going to need this, so I will craft this because I will be able to sell it, because so many people are going to need these goods, especially if you're crafting them at higher tiers before other people. Very, very generic, strong choice to go the smelting route. I don't think I want to go stonework and make good whetstones and stuff. You could you could be that guy who makes a small killing off of whetstones. Go for it. Tools, I'm staying away from that. I'll let somebody else pick that. And then in hammer, generic, right? This is probably stuff other than the skill, right, that you probably would want to max sooner rather than later, just so you can do like the armor or whatever at a higher quality. I think this is the kind of stuff that's going to be picked later. Maybe there's a plan in place where you want to push inspiration early, and that's your goal, is to get as much inspiration early. That way you can proc things in the early game at higher quality. Maybe getting tin here rushing 30 into inspiration and then focusing on something like a weaponsmithing or something like that. Like that could be an option, or even taking something like that and then going into something like that doesn't take as many points, like smelting. Like doing something like going the smelting route with like the inspiration route, so that you can make these like alloys and things of that nature at a higher quality on top of having more inspiration so that you're getting more procs. That is very much an option as well, like mixing that with that. As I briefly look at these, that's probably really high on my list of where I would go, is getting to the point where I'm at least getting the multi-craft and pushing smelting. So what is that? Let's get this. Let's try it. I don't think I'm gonna be able to unlock this too, because anyway, I can fix that. So going this route. Oh, actually, I don't need. I only need 5 to get there. All right, let's undo. So going the route where like boom, I just get 5 in here. I can learn a subspec. I have a little bit of inspiration. I want to push smelting to the max first. So now that I'm smelting really well, I do need the skill to make it a higher tier. But maybe I decide that I want to proc inspiration. I can then go over here. Actually, let's go ahead and I'm gonna grab this and just make my stuff level 100 just so I can show. Cool. So here you have 25, and then maybe going this route where your whole goal. So this would require you to at least be 50, right? This is all you would need to do. Go into the hammer control for the skill because it's required, it's needed, but then decide that you want to hit up the inspiration and push inspiration for procs. Is definitely a route you can go. You might not need to go this far initially. You might do something like push it to here, push it to that 5 just for additional inspiration and the inspirational gain up there, and then go back and do something like focus on generic skill, because that generic skill is going to be very, very much needed. So something like that is an option. I mean, even that's... Is this one? Oh yeah, this is skill as well. So yeah, you can mix and match. Go the 5 or whatever needed in here. Get up to like this tier just for the additional inspiration here. Max this, then come back and max this one for the skill. Yeah, you have options. I like the idea of mixing smelting and inspiration early, just to push the skill of smelting the alloy, and then also having inspiration to proc the higher tier alloy earlier, because those people who are able to push a specific armor or specific weapon, if they're going to have the skill to craft one of those pieces, they're probably not going to have the skill to craft really good alloy, and I would like to make a lot of money. So those are your options, I think. I like the smelting route mixed with inspiration. And I think focusing on a specific weapon or a specific armor piece is super viable. If I'm going to go an armor piece, I really like the idea of going boots. That way I can craft those embellished boots for PvP. And that's kind of what you have to work with. So hopefully talking that out a little bit helped you guys. So there you have it. There is a not so quick look at blacksmithing. I hope you got something out of this. If you did, please sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what I can do better. Let me know what you would like to see. I'm going to keep making these videos, hopefully, on the other professions I haven't covered yet. I think it's not... Even if nobody else gets something out of this, I get something out of it, because I can kind of go over it and think about it, and it allows me to kind of prep in my mind for the expansion and already have an idea of the direction I would potentially want to go. A lot of those choices, for me in particular, for the start of the expansion, I still need to wait on a lot of things to really figure out what I'm doing, because as much as I'm a gold maker, I like to actually play the game. I like to, I want to get into, I've never really been into Mythic Plus. I'd like to do that this expansion. I'm a big PvP guy, casual, obviously I'm not that great. I mean, I'm not bad, but you know what I mean, right? I'm normal. I'm normal like the rest of you. And I enjoy, I enjoy different aspects of the game, but I also really want to make good gold early. So I have a lot of choices to make. So anyway, hopefully this helped you and gave you a better idea of what there is to offer in something like blacksmithing. And with that, guys, I will go ahead and see you guys in the next one.